Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
I want to act like a car, because we have a car dealership here. And so I want to make sure that everybody stands to attention or sits in their old car because they're ready for a new car. And what we want you to do is hear some wonderful guests who are going to tell you all about Carl Springs Auto Mall. So with us, we have someone that I met and was so impressed with, and her name is Megan Borgese, and Megan is a social media director. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
And you brought along a charmer, Tony Martorano. Martorano, that's a nice Italian name. I didn't tell you when you told me your name, Tony, that my son, who's a lawyer, married a woman named Stefania Bologna. And if you don't think that's Italian, and she's direct from Italy.
It sounds Italian.
And so I'm so glad you're both here because it's very hard to describe what a dealership looks like. You know, a lot of people drive by places and they don't know if they don't go in. But when you drive by Carl Springs Auto Mall, you know it's got to be something special because you have 5 dealerships there. And I'm going to let you tell us about that, Meg, in a minute. And when you walk in, each one looks like more beautiful than the other. So let's start off with how many dealerships, what they are, Megan.
We have 5 brands: Honda, Nissan, Kia, Buick, and GMC. We also have a pre-owned superstore. So it's one of the largest in South Florida. But yeah, it's a fun environment. If you are looking for a family sedan and you are looking at the Accord, but also may want the Altima, you can tackle it all in one day because they're right next to each other.
Yeah, that's a good point because, and actually, talking to you, Tony, because as a man, we all knew that men bought the cars for years, but now women are buying the cars. What do you think made that change?
I think women always bought the cars. Men come into the dealership and tell us they need their wife, and they do. And women come into the dealership and tell us they need their husband, but they don't.
I love that.
And but I don't think that's ever really changed. I think that they've had a majority of the say when it comes to pulling the trigger on a new car.
Wonder why that is. So Megan, when you decide you want a new car, did you say to your husband, "This is what I want," or did you say, "What should we buy, honey"?
I'm smart. I give options. I give an A, B, and C option, and he can decide. But I know that those 3 are cars that I want.
And what makes you want a particular car?
I think it just depends on the stage that you are in your life. I currently drive a Nissan Maxima, and I love it. It's a perfect size for me, but I'm looking to upgrade into an SUV soon.
Now, when you came I'm glad you brought that up because you came to the BOOMER Expo and you had this gorgeous Nissan right in the middle of the car, the middle of the hall. And we had all these people, chomping at the bit to look at it. What was that?
That was a Nissan Altima. It's gorgeous.
It really was beautiful. And it's really interesting, talking to you, Tony, about this because you've been in the car business a long, long time. And you're not really in sales, but you make the people in sales do a better job. That's what I guess you do.
Well, I was in sales at one time. I train salespeople now. And, the business has changed a little bit. Customers have become more educated. They know a lot about the car before they get there. They know a lot about the price. I mean, the business hasn't changed, but we have to be better at the things that we do. Because customers will research the car before they come in and sometimes know more than a salesperson because they have it narrowed down to a specific vehicle that they've done a lot of research on. Also, customers don't like to be high pressured. We come from, I started in the business many, many years ago. I don't want to tell everybody how old I am. We had the prototypical salesperson wore a plaid jacket and had a comb in his back pocket, that whole look. Today, that's really changed. And people don't want to be high pressured. They want someone who's knowledgeable, someone who's low pressure, and someone they enjoy being around in the purchase of that vehicle. So we've had to raise the caliber of person. In the 33 years that I've been in the automobile business, I think we have better, more intelligent people now working in the business.
Well, for me, I go by, if we know of a certain car make, manufacturer, I really go by more of the salesperson, because if you trust that salesperson, even if the price could be a little bit more than you've researched, you know you have someone there. So tell me how that is. How do you feel about that?
So what you're really saying is people buy cars from people they like.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I do all the hiring at the auto mall. And the first thing, couple of things I look for when I hire a salesperson is, number one, has he been successful in the past? And number two, and I think one of the most important things is, do I like him? And a good salesperson has the ability to get you to like them within a few minutes. It's who they are. They're people. And that's kind of really what I'm looking for when I'm hiring. Before I train a salesperson, in the hiring process, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that, because when we walked into Carl Springs Auto Mall, we were working at the time with a different marketing person who was there, and she was just lovely. And then she brought you in, Megan, and you were just so bright and so shiny, and you just knew so much. And then she told me, or you told me, that you were social media director. Well, to me, that was just someone that sits at a computer, but that can't possibly be, because you're like everything there. So why did they give you that title?
I think they said I am the eyes and ears of the dealership. So I'm out there. I do all the community events. I handle all of our reputation. You know, that's a huge thing these days. People, you know, like you said, people want to buy from people they like. So if they're reading bad reviews on a salesman, they're not going to want to come and deal with him. So our job is to, you know, promote why people love coming to us. So that's part of my job as well. And social media is huge right now. And will continue to grow. It's essential for any business. So I spend about 25% of my time behind the computer each day, and the rest is walk around the dealership, getting to know each salesman, the new ones that Tony hires, and continue educating them on the new things that are coming out. And
you take their pictures for our website.
Yeah, I take all our pictures for the website.
You know, when I first hired Megan, we needed a social media director. I needed somebody for Facebook and Pinterest and YouTube and the normal stuff that us old guys don't know a lot about. And she knew a lot about that. And so she became our social media director. She's evolved to be our social director.
Good point.
So
I like that.
It was
Good
how it evolved.
Point.
It's how it evolved.
And before both of you leave, I'm going to take your picture and we're going to put you on YouTube. You don't know that, but that's going to happen. So don't move away from the mics, and then we'll get you on. We have something, a little special, something we do in Boomer Times every month. We have people, we call them radio stars. We have some before you, but we'll get you in the next month or two. But I love what you said, because it is so true. I think a lot of us are attracted to people by the way maybe they smile, though they look, how they, you know, as a gerontologist, I have to tell you that I found a lot of fault with older, with people in the financial world, or people who are working their computers, and an older person comes in and they never look at them. Even doctors do that. They don't look at them. They're so busy recording everything. And that's so wrong. You really do need to look at people, and I'm sure when your salespeople come in, they have to really build a bond. You can't do that with your back to them.
You know, Anita, every salesperson goes through a 2-week course, and we call the course relationship selling. So that goes right to your point. It's about building relationships. Our best customers are the customers we have relationships with. They come in, they come back all the time. They keep buying cars from us. They don't question the service that they need on their vehicles. They come back for service, and they trust us. And what we try to do every day is build more of those relationships with people. We're pretty successful. We can't be successful 100% of the time, because let's face it, you can't please everybody, but we could please the vast majority.
Well, especially people in Coral Springs, but I have to assume that people are going to come from down in Miami-Dade all the way up to Jupiter for you, because it's unusual to find all those good car manufacturers at one place, and they are good. And as I was telling you when you first came in, I loved going into your individual dealerships, because each one is so beautiful that it captures you, and you almost forget that you're there to buy a car. Yep. People are very friendly.
Well, people say it looks more like a park than a car dealership. But one of the problems that we have in Coral Springs is we have pretty big restrictions on signage. So we're right across the street from the Coral Square Mall, and it's actually hard to tell that that's a mall. And sometimes from the street, it's hard to tell that we're an auto dealership until you get inside.
But what you just pointed out is why Coral Springs is so beautiful. Mm-hmm. We don't have all those little things along. My husband happened to be a city planner, developer, and that was some things that he really helped cities do. It makes a difference, and it's why people live in Coral Springs. The schools are great, the hospital's great. But I wanted to, this is funny to talk about, probably, but I love the commercial for Buick. And it's true. I saw a Buick the other day parked actually in our condo garage, and I looked, I said, what kind of a car is that? That's gorgeous. And it was a Buick. Right. You've been in business a long time. Buicks, years ago, Buicks were very, very important and very prestigious. Then something happened for a few years. It was just another car. Mm-hmm. But some great designers got a hold of it. Is that how you feel, Tony?
I think they've changed. At one time, I think they've changed their audience. At one time, their demographic was older, and they want their GM starts to realize that you're looking for a younger demographic because then they could be with you their entire life. So they're actually trying to appeal now to a younger audience, and they have. They've done a really good job doing that. And I'm not sure if you know this, but it's probably the most popular car in China.
No, I don't know. How do you know that?
Buick is really big. Buick is really big in China.
How do they say that in Chinese?
I couldn't tell you.
How do they say Buick?
I'm working on Spanish right now. Chinese is next.
Oh, that's funny that they found that to be very attractive, and it's a larger car, a Buick, isn't it?
They have the whole gamut. They have from small cars to larger cars, and they're very much upscale.
And next year they're introducing a convertible.
Oh yeah, it's funny. When I got married many years ago, I was just 17, and I married the beach boy at one of the Miami Beach hotels, and he had a Cadillac convertible, and we went all the way from Miami Beach down to Acapulco in that car. Oh, that was interesting. So I know all about convertibles. I mean, you can do it in a convertible. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Sorry. You asked me when you first got on the show what the show is about. That's what the show's about. We just have a lot of fun. But cars are very, very special. I think it's, how's it go? Your home's first and your car's next, or is your car first and then your home's next? I'm not even sure.
As far as?
What's important in your life?
I think I better say spouse.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
I'll add that in there someplace. And then after that, the house and the car, for sure.
Because, people are renting a lot more today, so maybe their car is more important because they're in their car more than they are in their home. Mm-hmm. But it's really nice that you are both with Carl Springs Automall. I'm going to give some information about this. So let's just talk about where it is. It's actually 9400 West Atlantic Boulevard in Carl Springs. For those of you who are listening, this is Pencil Talk Radio. So get your pencils out. It's 9400 West Atlantic Boulevard, Carl Springs, and it's right off University. So it gives you an idea.
It's on the corner of University and Atlantic.
Yeah. So, it's so easily recognizable. And get on the website, and you'll be able to see all the various models. It's carlspringsautomall.com. carlspringsautomall.com. Now, I'll give you a phone number to call, and I don't know who answers this call, this phone, but I'm sure if you call them and you ask for the various manufacturers or the various showrooms, they'll get them to you. Mm-hmm. It's 954-755-5600. 954-755-5600. And one thing that I think you mentioned, Megan, that not only do you have the new cars, you also have, now we don't use the word used cars anymore. I know that's not what they say. What's the word now that we use?
We pre-owned or certified pre-owned. Which is
pre-owned cars, right? There was something about a used car then.
They're used cars.
Yeah, right.
But
pre-owned cars.
They're lightly used.
Yeah, lightly used. That's even better. Well, I have a son that has my father's car, and he has a Toyota that has 310,000 miles on it.
Wow.
And so, cars today, if you take care of them, you can really keep them going. And I think that's very important. And I think we want to talk about your service department because it's one thing to buy a car, but service is so special. So, Tony, tell us about the service departments that
service
you have.
is important because there's a saying in the business that sales sells the first car, but service sells the rest of them. So the type of relationship the customer has with the service department will determine whether they buy a car from us the next time or somebody else. So we really try to go the extra mile in the service department. When you buy a car from us, your first oil change is free. We sell packages where all your oil changes are included, but your first oil change is always free. And we give them that so they can be introduced to our service department, so they can see for themselves how they're going to be treated when they come in. Again, like our sales department, we go through constant training in sales. Service department is also the service advisors and the technicians. All of our technicians are ASC certified. We have a certain number of master techs. We have all the tools that we need to fix the cars. All the webinars, they attend all the webinars they need to go to. So if you want your car fixed correctly, there was a time in the United States where people used to try to go to any place but a dealer for service. And now the customers are flocking back to the dealers because they realize they're getting the job done correctly. And because there's so much competition, we're forced to price ourselves to be competitive with the other people that are out there fixing vehicles. I don't want to mention any names.
No, I understand. And one thing people have to understand also is that we know that hospitals are 24 hours a day. And I guess maybe, now Publix, I guess, is 20. No, Publix is not, but some Walgreens are. Mm-hmm. But car dealerships are 7 days a week, yes. Long hours. Mm-hmm. And you have a lot of dedicated people working there. I mean, it takes a lot to be there all the time. And so what I always like to say is, if you're going to go to a car dealership, you need to be nice. Let's try to be nice also. We always talk about people who work somewhere to be nice. Well, if you're nice, they're going to be nice, right? Mm-hmm. Right? And so I always talk to our listeners who trust me, hopefully, after all these years. But if you don't understand something, you can ask them. And if something doesn't seem right, you can ask for a manager. But go in there with a good heart, and know you may not buy the car because you may decide that's not the car you want. But here at Carl Springs Auto Mall, if you don't like the Nissan, you can go see that Buick. If you can recognize the Buick and not think it's a Rolls Royce, sorry.
And any salesman can show you all the cars.
Oh, I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, so if you find a salesperson there you really like,
he could take you from one dealership to the next.
Well, and he knows about all the cars. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a big thing. That means you have highly intelligent, well-trained salespeople.
Well, to a certain point, like I said, if they get really specific, we could always look at somebody else at that dealership, look to them for answers. So we help each other. Point is, we help each other.
Very smart to do that, because we talked about this at the beginning. If someone really trusts you and they like you, to all of a sudden say, okay, well, you're not going to buy the Honda, but I'm going to take you over to Nissan. So they don't lose that relationship. Mm-hmm. That's really that's very, very good. When it says we're not number one, you are, and that says so much, and that's what people say. It's I just read an article that one of our writers wrote something about, as one ages, you were always somebody, and because you got older, you're not nobody. And it's true. So many people, do that with people. So as an older adult, when people come in, are your salespeople aware of hearing loss and vision loss? And I really always say that to everybody on my radio show, because I do a whole thing on what's called sensitivity training, because I do it in hospitals. And that's the one thing about salespeople. They can be very good, but they have to remember that they have to really look at the customer. And you may have to repeat it, and it doesn't mean that they're stupid. It just means that they're not hearing or they're not seeing well. And so it's a very important issue for the population that you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. What is the population, in a sense, in Carl Springs? Isn't it younger than most places? Like Boynton Beach is an older population. Well, but isn't Carl Springs younger?
Carl Springs is a bedroom community.
Bedroom, okay.
It's
good word.
The number of, I don't know specifics, but the number of people per household is very high, because it's a family-type town. The demographics have changed. I think it's gone. The population has gone down in age in Coral Springs. So we have a lot of younger people that have moved in. But for the most part, it's pretty much the whole gamut. But it is a bedroom community. It's a lot of children, a lot of little league teams, a lot of soccer games, a lot of soccer moms, a lot of coaching going on. Parks are big in Coral Springs. It's a beautiful town. It's a Malcolm Baldrige award-winning town, and it's a great place to raise a family. So that's kind of our demographic. And then a little bit to the south of us in Tamarack, we have a little bit of an older demographic, Kings Point and communities like that. So we pretty much have it all.
And do you find that once someone knows about you, that they will come from other locations, not just Carl Springs?
Well, I know we take people from other markets, but I'm sure people from other markets steal our customers also. I'm not saying that none of our customers go down to Miami to buy a car, but we get people from Miami and Boca and Boynton. And the reason we mentioned earlier, it's all about relationships. And sometimes someone will come up from Miami and to shop another dealership in Miami, and they'll form a relationship with us. And the next thing you know, we have that customer for the next 20 years. So I'm sure we take customers from each other, but it's all because of relationships.
Now, Megan, I'm going to ask this of Tony, but I'm going to watch your expression too, because for years, women were never in car sales. How is it today, Tony?
I've been hiring and training salespeople for the last 25 years. It's very hard to find women.
Why?
I advertise for women. I put pictures in my ads. I'll put pictures of women only. They don't like to, they don't really, maybe it's the hours. I don't know if it's the hours or the, I can't tell you. It's just, I hire as many female salespeople as I can. They're great salespeople. They're very trustworthy. People like them. They're great relationships with customers. I just don't have a lot of applicants. We do have some female salespeople, but not as many as I would like to see.
That is
just
a
hard,
question.
I just haven't really learned how to attract them into the business yet.
Yeah, no, that has changed, because I think a woman would be very good at that, because she understands, you have a come in with your kids and you say, yeah, well, I'd like this car better for your kids, right, because of this. So they're not coming in.
The retail hours are extremely hard. It's extremely hard for anyone. But we tend, as men, we tend to give the responsibilities of the children mainly to the women. And it's even harder, the nighttime hours, and it's not the hours are really long. It's just that you never know what the hours are going to be, because you think you're going to leave at 5 one day, and push comes to shove, and you're with the customer, and next thing you know, you're there till 11. There are nights, Megan's husband's in the business. There are nights when Megan's husband comes home at 1:30 in the morning from working a car deal with a customer. And I'm not saying that this is something that women can't do.
Right.
I'm just saying I don't have enough. If I see a qualified woman, I'd hire her. I just don't have a lot of them applying. I wish more would apply.
So would you hire, I'm just thinking of some of my friends now. So would you hire a woman if she's had sales experience but not auto sales? Is that difficult?
My favorite person to hire as a car salesperson is a person with sales experience but not auto experience. I'd like to teach them my way.
Because, there are a lot of people who've been in real estate and who are looking for jobs. And I could recommend them.
And real estate people love auto sales. Because as you know, in real estate, when you sell a piece of property, you could die 1,000 deaths before you ever get paid. Things happen and months go by. And in an automobile dealership, it's instant gratification. Something gets sold today, the car gets picked up today or tomorrow, and real estate people tend to like the automobile business. So.
And also, it's a business of referrals and people liking you.
It's very similar.
Well, that's good. Well, so anybody listening here, I'm going to give you the phone number. You can call Tony. Let's see, maybe he has a different number than I just gave you. Why don't you call his direct number? It's 954-656-6216. You just never know, Tony.
Well, the other number would work also. The operator.
Oh, okay.
Our operator, Barbara, has been with us for 20-something years.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't want to be in car sales.
She knows the answer to most questions, and she can find the answers that she doesn't know. So call and ask for Barbara, and Barbara could find me or Megan or any other dealerships you want to speak to.
Okay, I'll give you the number again. It's 954-755-5600. And my guests are very charming, very knowledgeable. And, of course, it's Megan Borghese. And then we, of course, have Tony Martorano. And he's director of dealership development. And Tony told me that he used to work in the school system, and he was in counseling. And, of course, he said that it's a very good thing in any business, actually. You said about in cars, but any business you're in, you have to know what people are like and be able to help them. I mean, I spend a lot of time with people counseling them, and that wasn't the intention, especially advertisers, who aren't getting what they're supposed to get. And I say, well, are you doing this? Are you doing that? And so it's a big field. Well, cars. I'd like to ask you about what's happened now with cars that are hybrids. I mean, are we going to eventually not have any gasoline cars? Is that Tony or Megan? I don't know either one. What do you think is going to happen? You do have hybrids, but all the manufacturers seem to have hybrids now, don't they?
I don't know. I own a Harley Davidson, so I'm hoping that
he wants noise.
I'm hoping fossil fuels will be around for quite a while. It's hard to really say. I don't know. I mean, people when gas prices are low, people at this particular point, nobody's thinking about hybrids because they feel it's affordable now that it's come down in price. If it goes back up to $4 a gallon, who knows? We do sell hybrids. it's nowhere close to 50-50 yet. In fact, it's about probably 10%.
Really?
5 or 10%.
So it went down.
And that all has to do with the price of gas and people's perception of the price of.
Yeah, but Harley Davidsons don't use a lot of gas.
I know, but I mean, I hope I'm young enough to. I hope I'm old enough to not see the end of gasoline.
Now that you brought up Harley Davidsons, I have to tell you though, for years, it was very popular because it was the guy with the black leather jackets and all that. But then something happened, and we never heard about. Then the boomers came around, and all of a sudden you saw boomers with their wives. They're going crazy. They're all driving motorcycles. So see, things do go up and they do go down, just like gas.
I think that's our. I think as we're getting older, it makes us feel younger again.
Does your wife go on your motorcycle with you?
She will not.
See?
I have a fiance. I don't have a wife.
Oh, okay.
She will, and we've been together for 15 years. But she won't ride with me at all. So, and I ask her, but maybe that's a good thing because it's my chance to just be by myself. To
be alone. I have a cousin who's her husband loves airplanes, and he's built his own airplane, and she will not go in his airplane. So that's a hard thing when you love something. But maybe it's like you said, you go and you're free.
My fiance's ex-husband and her were riding a motorcycle, and they fell, and nobody got hurt. So she doesn't really want to be anywhere near it, but she doesn't stop me from being near it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I understand that. The other thing that has really, I don't know when this started, but SUVs. When did they really come into their own? I mean, seems like I go through my parking garage, almost everyone has an SUV. Mm-hmm. Tell me what that's all about.
I think that started maybe 20 years ago when we put import restrictions on imports, and we only allowed them to import a certain number of cars, so they sold us trucks. And they become very, very popular. And from a utility point of view, they remain. There used to be an SUV in a car in every driveway, and today there's an SUV and an SUV in every driveway.
You are so right. I have a son who has triplet children, 9 years old. Uh-huh. And let me tell you, they have the mother-in-law and they have everybody in there, and they love their SUV. Well, everything good has to come to a close, and maybe we'll have to do this again. So Tony and Megan, thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Carl Springs Auto Mall. Get that on your calendar. Don't buy a car without going there first. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.